Hi, I'm Don Texan, and I am having a wonderful Alberni Valley experience. Hello, welcome to another episode of the W.A.V.E, the wonderful Alberni Valley experience. I'm your host, Don Texan, coming to you from the unceded territories of the Hoopacheset and the Shop peoples here in the wonderful Alberni Valley. We're going to be talking to very special guests tonight, and I will let Carol Ann, my beautiful co-host, introduce our guests.
Well, tonight we are interviewing Sage Haven. Is that Sage Haven?
Yeah.
Yes. And we have Ellen Frood from Sage Haven, and we have Leslie Fox, who sits on the board, and I'll let them tell us a little bit about themselves.
Oh, hi. Gee whiz. Well, I'm Ellen Frood, and I've been with Sage Haven for 6 years now, and came into an organization that is absolutely extraordinary and does wonderful work in the valley here. Yeah, I don't know what you want to know about me. You know, I've lived across Canada, many communities, and
What brought you to our wonderful valley?
Life brought me here.
And you love it?
I love it. I
Good.
do. I describe this as a mighty community.
A mighty community. That's the first time I heard such a thing. I love
Many
it.
firsts here. You know, smart people, kind people, and you know, lots of innovation taking place here. And I'm so proud to be part of that and watch this community grow. So yeah.
And it is also worth mentioning that Miss Ellen Frood right here was Citizen of the Year, the last
Yes.
Chamber Awards
Yes.
for 2021.
Yes, I'm very touched and honored to receive
Congratulations,
that.
because
Yeah,
that
thank you
is
so much.
lovely.
Oh my gosh.
That is like
just
the
overwhelmed.
award of all of the awards.
Yeah, that was the cream of the everything, right?
Well, what was really neat for me is that the three people, 2020, 21, and 22,
Mhm.
all three of us come from the social services sector.
Mhm.
And, you know, we continued serving people throughout the pandemic. So we have been working in the community and helping people all the way through. So what an honor to have the social services.
We've had the
sector.
other guests on our show too as well, Colin Minions and
And Michael Ramsey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, there will be coming a time where we'll have all three of them, the Citizens of the Year awardees, on one of the episodes of the upcoming W.A.V.E.
Yeah.
Well, of course, thank you, Leslie. I know you're very busy, but thank you for coming here. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with Sage Haven Society.
Absolutely. So I've been volunteering for Sage Haven. I'm on the board of directors. I started off as a director and muscled my way up to chair.
Yay.
And I've been doing that for about 3 years now. So I'm originally from Ontario. I grew up in Windsor, Ontario. I lived in Vancouver for about 14 or 15 years. So I'm new to the Valley, so I've been here about 3 or 4 years now.
Okay.
And when I arrived here, I was looking for volunteer opportunities, partly because I'm interested in community, creating a sense of community. I work in the nonprofit sector. And it's also a great way to meet people and make friends,
Mhm.
you know, is to join organizations and clubs and associations and get involved. And so I had met Ellen for a cup of coffee. I liked her right away. And there was a need, and I felt as though I could help, and so it was a real natural fit for me, and I'm really enjoying my time, and yeah, it's been
So
a really
you say you
positive
came
experience.
to the Alberni Valley 3 years ago,
About 3 years ago.
and then you met Ellen. So have you come to know other organizations that might have been interesting to you, or Sage was your first encounter, so you jumped on it right away?
It certainly was one of the first organizations I think I really clicked with, but I definitely have my eyes open though. As a resident of the Valley, there are a lot of amazing organizations
Oh, yes.
here that do a lot of great work for people, for the environment, for animals, and all those things really interest me, and I'm just really engaged in, you know, the different issues that are going on and opportunities to help make a difference, and you know, especially at a volunteer level, and so just learning a little bit more about that, and again, that gives me a sense of purpose and creates meaning in my life, and it also it's a great way to meet people, and I think that's one of the things I like most about, you know, volunteering with Sage is we've got a great group of directors, we've got great staff, and we have a lot of fun. So
Mhm.
you know, you do work, but
Or more important is that the work you do is just, you know, for the community is just
So when
so
you
wonderful.
say you do work, what kind of things do you do?
So the board of directors is governance, and
Yeah.
so it's really, really important stuff. And sometimes it sounds a bit boring, but bylaws, for example, constitution. So there's some formal documents that when you're part of a board to comply with the Society Act. So there's regulations that help structure nonprofit organizations and charities. So the board, first and foremost, needs to make sure that you're compliant with the legislation, you're following the rules, and that you know what those rules are. The board is also responsible for things like fundraising, making sure that Ellen has what she needs and that she's supported in her role as the executive director. So the board wants to make sure that there's enough money in the bank. We're making good budget decisions. And sometimes we have to make hard decisions. We might have to cut back on programs, or we might have to transfer funds from one area to another. And so we've had some hard conversations over the years, especially during COVID when things were getting tough. What decisions were we going to make as a group to kind of keep things going, and again do our best to support Ellen and her role. So it's a challenge.
I know that you guys do the Coldest night, which you can tell us about after, but do you do other big fundraisers that we as a community don't know about, or is that your main fundraiser?
That's the main fundraiser. We have lots of, there are different organizations that support us in different ways. So we have a group of realtors who contribute a percentage of their commission on an annual basis, and then
that's
we
wonderful.
receive that. Yeah, and we have church groups that will support us in different ways. Sometimes people will have little fundraisers in the community. Sometimes it's something as simple as a yard sale with all the money coming to us. It varies in many ways. And, we do the classic things like we send letters out in the mail and ask for money. Actually, last year's the first year that we did that. So a new thing for us, and had great sponsors who said we'll match dollar for dollar up to $10,000, and so lo and behold, we raised more than $20,000, which
That's
was just
wonderful.
amazing. Yeah, so it's it's a very giving community. I find sometimes we're not the highest thing that people think about when I think about charitable giving. The work that we do is a difficult thing to talk about, and many people are uncomfortable talking about intimate partner violence and abuse and sexual assault. There are things that people just have trouble talking about.
I feel like you're the first thing we think about, but I think part of that is because you're in the uptown.
Yeah.
So
And
right
you're
away,
right across the
when
pond.
we do anything, we want to give it
Yep.
to something in the uptown. I don't know why, but you're right there. So
Yeah. Well, and we participate in the Uptown Merchants
Absolutely.
because we consider
You're at
ourselves
every
to be
meeting.
part of the community,
Yes.
and we'll contribute whatever we can to that too. So yeah.
Now,
You
in
know, we give
terms of
back.
programs and things that you actually do, I know I had you on the show before. The first, I think, live stream of the
well,
W.A.V.E.
it
We
was
talked
scary.
about several programs. Could you give us an idea of what the programs are?
Yeah. Well, we're known for our shelter, obviously.
Okay.
So we have an 11-bed transition house, emergency shelter. And that would have been the first program that we had way back in the beginning, along with a resource center, so a library. And from that we grew to programs including stopping the violence for women who are in intimate partner violent relationships, peace, which is for kids who witness abuse, a sexual assault response program where we actually attend and go to the hospital with a survivor of a sexual assault and the forensic nurse examiner and help them.
That's heavy duty stuff.
It's really heavy duty stuff. Yeah, we have the drop-in center on 3rd Avenue where anybody's welcome to come in. And I get to this point and I go, holy cow, I'm forgetting somebody and I must know. And I'll grab my brochure and I'll tell you in a minute. But it's a whole, it's very holistic. So, we don't just, somebody doesn't just come in. So mom might come in and she might be talking to our stop the violence counselor. And so, mom starts talking and all of a sudden we discover maybe there's 1 or 2 children in the family and the kids have been watching. And so we'll say, well, how about we introduce your kids to our peace counselor and she can do some work and talk with them. It's mostly play therapy that they do with the children. Or maybe mom's, needing to be grounded. She's not certain about housing. She may not have identification. She may not know about income. So we help people find income supports. Get identification. There's a whole range of things. It's like no one person is. Everybody's different in how we work with them and help them. So outreach, and we do outreach in the schools. So ADSS and 8th Avenue Learning Center We have somebody who's in each of those schools 1 day a week.
What do you mean outreach? What do they do?
So let's see. Sometimes kids are acting out in school, or they're having trouble with their grades, and so they may come to our outreach person in school, have some conversations. They could be cutting. It's very typical,
Heavy
and
duty
it
again.
certainly is an indication. It's an indication that there are other problems. To have conversations and to talk about what's happening in their lives. Kids, young people don't often know what abuse is, and so it's the opportunity to talk and say, it's not your fault for starters. That's such a big thing. And kids we kids bear the burden of so much. Oftentimes, it's not your fault, or we define what it is. Did you know that that's not okay behavior? And we'll help them find ways to be safe. So if a child is in first of all. And not most importantly, if we feel there's a danger for a child, then we have a responsibility to report to the Ministry of Children and Family Development. And we tell them that. We say, you can talk with me, it's confidential, I will keep your confidence. However, if I feel that you're in danger, I will have to report. So it's right there in the beginning, so there's that, that they know and they understand. So outreach could also mean taking a young person to a doctor. And outreach in the 8th Avenue Learning Center has meant sitting right beside a young woman who was struggling in school and was way behind to the point where she graduated this year and finished her school year. Working and collaborating with the counselors in the school to see what the kids need, how they can be helped. It varies again. We work with youth that are trans and bisexual, struggling again with identity and a crisis, and oftentimes being bullied. So we work to help them understand about their identity, that it's okay, that, so we accept people as they present across all of our programs, and that includes in our transition house. Anybody presenting as a woman is welcome to come to our transition house.
So in your experience, Leslie, like you've been involved with SAGE, or I will go to the history of SAGE in a little bit. But in your experience being involved with SAGE for 3 years now? 2 years?
3.
3 years. What has your experience been like? Like personally?
Yeah, I think it's really positive, and certainly I think I really like the variety. And listening to Ellen talk, you can see there's so many programs, and SAGE really offers something for everyone. And so I think historically, there's this mindset of what a women's shelter looks like, what is a woman, what is domestic violence, and we've got these old attitudes and labels on things. But really, in a modern society, in a modern context, when we look at Sage Haven, again, we have something for everyone. We have something for women. We have something for men. We have something for children. We have something, for someone from the LGBT community. So it's really about that variety and reaching people where they're at, and giving them meaning and purpose and tools and resources. That means a lot to me, and to be part of an organization that is doing this type of work, again, gives me a sense of meaning and purpose. And I think that's really important. I think that's important for people to get involved in their community, and there's something that we can all do to help support organizations like Sage Haven.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm looking for some salt and pepper shakers, please.
Okay, come on down this way. So this is a really good product right here. It's got a lifetime warranty. It's got a carbon steel grinder. It's going to last for a long time.
Fantastic. I'll take a set, please.
Hi, I'm Chris Washington, and I'm the owner of Flandangle's Kitchen and Gifts and Gibson's Fine Linens. We've been servicing the Alberni Valley for over 42 years. We love what we do, and we believe it shows. So come on down and see us today, and we can show you the myriad of things we have in our store.
Okay.
I want to know why the name changed.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm curious. I mean, I think I know, but I'm sure there's a lot more to it than what I know. So
I think we should you give a little bit of background on the history. So Sage wasn't originally Sage. Sage just became official this year, actually, if I'm not mistaken. So originally it was PAWS, Port Alberni Women's Society.
Services, yeah.
Services. Port Alberni Women's Services, and then it evolved into ACAUS, Alberni Community and Women's Services, and now it has officially been christened, if you wanna, for lack of a better word, as Sage Haven Society. So
And it looks beautiful, like the
I love
the
the
logo.
tree.
Yes, so.
So pause was the beginnings of and the root, you know, if you want
Mhm.
to say going back to
Or the
19
seed.
the seed,
Mhm.
that's it, pardon me, where we had a group of women in the community who had a friend who was in a relationship that was very abusive, and
Mm.
really were looking to see what kind of services were there, and discovered there were none. So they did a survey, and they published in the paper, and they said, you know, we're looking to see if women are interested. And they did this article, and they surveyed women, and came back with a response that it was absolutely, yes, we need services to help women. You know, as with many nonprofits, it was kind of a bunch of people around a kitchen table. And so in the beginning, what they were doing was they were actually taking women into their own homes, or in some cases putting them into hotel or motel rooms to protect them, to make them safe. And so they went to then was called the Women's Secretariat, received some funding, became a nonprofit in 1980, and in 1981 took their first client in. So that we sort of go through the years, and we gradually started to build on the services that we have. And we started to receive funding about 13 or 14 years ago from gaming.
Mm.
So in gaming, you can't be restrictive in your funding. You have to be very careful in how you set out the objects. And so up until then, it had been a very strong feminist organization. I would suggest we still are, by the way, but that men needed to be incorporated into what we were doing, and that when we opened the resource center on 3rd Avenue, that we needed to let anybody come in, and that included men. So that was sort of the root of taking men in. But it also required a name change, and so that it then took out the Port Alberni and became Alberni Community. So
Mhm.
now we're welcoming the community and women's services, maintaining that piece of the women's services. And so, and we, you know, ACAUS. So now
Yeah.
I would say, I'm with ACAUS, and people would say, ACAUS, what's that? And so I'd say the name of all the way and say, oh, okay, I got that. But what do you do? So about a year ago, we had a new person join the board, Chris Fenton, who joined our board.
Mhm.
And he said, well, I don't get the name. I just don't get the name. And, you know, it doesn't resonate for me. It doesn't really tell me what it is that you do. Because, you know, we talk about our services, and we work with boys, and we work with the dads of kids. You know, men come in, we work with gay people, the gay community, and trans. And he says, your name doesn't tell me that. So,
Mhm.
so we did a little bit of brainstorming, and you go ahead and tell the rest of the story. So
Okay.
Is it
The
kind of
wise sage, from ACOS to
Yeah.
sage.
Yeah, and I think the word sage came up, and it was presented in part, I think, because in some cultures, you know, sage as an herb, it's, you know, it's very healing. It's often associated with wisdom, experience, and wisdom. And the logo for Sage Haven, of course, is this tree, and we all really lit up, you know, when it was presented to us, and having this big beautiful tree, and of course it's got kind of, you know, the rainbow colors, and Sage Haven, and again, sage, you know, is sort of healing, haven is a safe place, and with this iconic tree, and the idea of the tree, I think, and when I think about the tree, it's really a metaphor for a lot of things, you know,
Mhm.
putting down roots and anchor yourself.
Yes.
And trees are also symbolic of, you know, standing up, growing, reaching out your
Mhm.
branches, and
Giving
so-
shelter.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things kind of packed in there that, again, really act as a metaphor, I think, for some of the work that we're trying to do, and so it really was a no-brainer, you know, to sort of move into the Sage Haven Society, and it, for myself, I feel it's more modern and more representative of, we work with everyone. It's not just women, and I think ACAUS really limited us to that, where it left the perception that we were somehow this private women's club, and if you didn't identify or a woman, or, you know, there was nothing there for you, and of course that's not true, and
Yeah.
so again, it's just this evolution, and really represents growth and change, you know, led largely by Ellen. We've got a great board of directors, and of course all the donors and
Mhm.
small local businesses that continue to support us. And I think it's really great.
Yeah,
So-
we had a man come in around Christmas time, and he was stood there, older gentleman, and he was quite uncomfortable. And the reason he was there was because his wife said, "I want you to go there and make a donation." And so, of course, I'm talking and saying, "Wow, thank you so much." And it was a really generous donation. I'm saying, "Oh, that's lovely. Can I offer you a tour of the building? Would you like to look?" I didn't even know men were allowed in here. So there's this long
Oh.
history of people not understanding that, thinking that you have to be a woman.
I always thought you couldn't go in there if you were a man.
Yeah, see? So we're educating you now.
Yeah, and it's
Was there a time when it was only women?
Well,
The beginning.
well, in the beginning, all the services were for women. But once the drop-in center opened, that was when the beginning of that change happened, because we were then at the point. We still have Women's Wednesdays, and believe me, boy, do they love it. Get it? Women's Wednesday. Out.
Oh,
Women's
that's
Wednesday.
Well, I get the part where ACOS became SAGE, but I'm missing the part where PAWS became ACOS.
Oh, so it was Port Alberni Women's
Yeah.
Services, and then Alberni Community and Women's was
Mhm.
when we opened the drop-in center,
I
and
see.
we're seeking the funding. So they introduced the name Community, meaning we were welcoming more than just women. That was
Okay,
part
so
of
who
the policy.
started that? Because you mentioned Chris, who started ACOS to SAGE.
So
So who started
I'm
PAWS to
I'm going to
ACOS?
plead a little ignorance here because
Okay.
it predates me, and,
Oh, I
and
see.
I would suggest
Yeah,
that it's been, as I say, the drop-in center opened about 13 or 14 years ago.
I see.
And so it would have been around that time, and it was a board decision at that
I
time.
see, I
To,
see.
to align with the new philosophy of welcoming men into the
Mm-hmm.
center, yeah.
Okay, now moving on to something a little bit more exciting.
Woohoo.
So what do you have to look forward? I know there's something to look forward this year for SAGE, Haven Society. Would you like to talk about that?
Oh, wow, yeah, very exciting.
Because
So-
I was in the community meeting where they got approved finally with the
Oh,
bylaws and
yeah,
everything.
Yeah, yeah. So with thanks to the city of Port
Mhm.
Alberni and BC Housing, we are embarking on a project to build 22 units of what we call second stage housing. And the property will be a combination of studio 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. And it will be for women who have come to our transition house after 30 days, and it would be a next step towards market housing. And so we help move them into a housing where they can create a rental history. We can help with some educational programs, financial literacy,
Not our heavy
self-esteem.
duty. No, I'll call that heavy hitting.
It's all about helping people build their
Mhm.
future, and part of our tagline is understanding the past and building futures.
Yes, it was
And,
about
and
to
this
bring
is a
it
very
up,
strong piece of understanding what's happened in the past and helping people build new futures as they move forward. So, yeah, there. Go. It's
This has been a long time coming, and this did not happen overnight.
No. Shortly after I came here, we did a strategic plan. And in the strategic plan, it was, we're going to build second stage housing. Well, we had no money, we had no support. All I knew was I was going to have to launch some kind of great big campaign and try and find money to do this project. So, the seed was planted back in about 2017, I'm guessing. But and thank heavens BC Housing said they'd fund it, because I don't know what I would
There you
have done.
go.
But it was like 2017, I think, when we
Yeah.
learned. So, by the time we open our doors, we're hoping for a groundbreaking later. Well, it's pretty late in June now, in July sometime,
I see.
with opening the doors in July of next summer. So
So it's going to be a
coming.
year that you
Yeah,
waiting.
that's a construction. That's
Yeah,
normal.
like I said, not overnight,
I'm,
but definitely.
over anxious. But I've just learned to be patient. You just got to go with the flow, and it's one day at a time. And what I do know is that it's happening, and we have some great partners to help us get there. So
Mhm.
yeah. We're
So who
fortunate.
are like BC Housing? Is gaming still involved?
No, the gaming has been funding our drop-in center only.
I
That's
see.
And so our other programs, we are funded by the Department of Justice for 3 or 4 of the programs, and First Nations Health Authority helps us with our kids outreach, and BC Gaming, and then individual fundraising. 8 to 10% of our revenue comes from fundraising right now.
So Sage Heaven Society. What's the slogan again? Understanding the past. and building the future.
Building futures, yeah. Not the futures, just building futures.
Building futures. What do you have to say about that, Caroline?
I think it's fabulous.
Mhm.
I mean, I know that we have a lot of housing coming to Port Alberni.
Yeah,
This
we
one,
do.
I knew there was lots, but I didn't know what they all were. But this is great. Yeah, this is absolutely great.
Have you ever considered getting involved? Because it was women.
You
You're a woman.
Yeah, honestly, I love being involved with lots of things. I'm on lots of boards and I do lots of things, but as a new mom now,
Oh I
I
guess it's too much on your plate already.
I don't have time to do it, but
Well, in the
I
future.
like to help, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh, definitely.
like
Yes.
little things
Yeah.
we do at the
Mhm.
cafe, we do
course.
Santa pictures, we gave them
Yeah.
money and donations. Like if we do things to raise money, that's where we take it, right?
Yeah.
It's a great
And
thing to
there's
I
have.
think I first heard about ACOS through you.
Yeah,
And
probably.
among other people.
And there's lots of different ways to help. And so certainly one of them is, if people do have the time, they can volunteer, and there's different ways which people can volunteer. They can, join as a board member. If they have a special talent, hobby, or skill, that's really great. So for example, if someone's an accountant or a lawyer, those are great skill sets for our board of directors. But also if someone's really good with crafts,
Okay.
sewing, woodworking, if they want to donate a craft or an item, quilting, for example, and we can use those items in a silent auction or a draw or a raffle, so if someone's just making something at home, like that, it's a great way that they can participate.
Yeah.
Business owners, small business owners, donating gift certificates for auctions, having, donating product or doing some kind of a benefit night, or sometimes even just donating space for a special event or
Just writing a check.
yeah, writing a check. I mean, it's endless, and there's so many different ways that everyone can participate in a level that's comfortable for them.
And the one thing I love about the different organizations here in Port Alberni is they don't compete, they collaborate, they work with each other. So,
You have to.
like you have been working with the other organization, community services, like Salvation Army and other organizations here in Port Alberni.
Yeah, we do. We want everybody to be successful. And so, that includes potentially not even competing when we're applying for grant funding.
Yeah, you
Is
mentioned
to
that.
just check
I
to
love
see,
it. Right.
what the other housing service providers are doing.
Mhm.
Okay, you're applying in that funding stream, we're gonna let you be successful. There's gonna be some more money out there that might.
Breaking news! More and more business owners are looking to grow their business using video ads, and they are not wrong. Let me spell it out for you. Visibility, information, demand, entertainment, and overall impact. That's just some of the things a good video ad can do for your business. Book a free consultation today by clicking on the link below, and let's get started.
Applying in that funding stream, we're gonna let you be successful. There's gonna be some more money out there that might be more specific to what we do. I mean, that's a small way, but for sure, Salvation Army supports a lot of our families. So if we'll have somebody that's really in need and they need a food basket or food right away, instead of going on the traditional days when food's available, they help them, get the food right away. They have vouchers if they have furniture or stuff that they can take. So, different ways. We work with CMHA, Canadian Mental Health, with their housing service provider. So women in intimate partner relationships have a priority when it comes to housing. And so we'll work with their housing people and in terms of available spaces to make sure that their house, to try. Like, it's desperately hard to find housing right now. It just breaks my heart that, it breaks my heart.
But we do have a lot in the works.
We do.
Oh yes.
We do. We just
More
have
than
to.
most
We just have to
communities. We're
take
so
care.
fortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
Ellen said, it's a mighty community.
It is.
People come together. I think that's one of the things I'm always impressed by, and especially during COVID, when things were really hard.
Oh yes.
And when we knew businesses were suffering, it was a lot of those same small businesses that would continue to give,
Absolutely.
even though they were probably hurting themselves.
Mhm.
And again, or even donors or Christmas time where we have, you can sponsor a family. And
Yeah.
again, people who don't have a lot themselves would somehow, some way, pull out all the stops to
Yeah.
help someone else. And what a cool thing, you
And
know.
I'll tell you a story about Christmas, because that's an enormous thing that so many people come to support families. And so Colson's has always been very, very generous in terms
Yeah.
of supporting families, and they feel that's really important to them at the Christmas season. So this year we sent notices out to people, and we said, okay, well, this is what we're doing. We didn't hear anything from Colson's, so I thought, well, that's kind of odd, but maybe just time of year and what's happening. Well, I got a phone call, and it was, are you still doing the program? Because we haven't heard anything from you. And we went, yeah, of course, we're still doing it. And I think it was one of those, something ended up in somebody's junk mail or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And so this is like 3 or a week before Christmas, if I'm not mistaken. Can you anyway, they picked 18 families,
Wow.
and they went out and they shopped for 18
Great.
families over a
Yeah, I
2-day
was
period.
there. I was
Were you
working
there?
in a retail
Mhm.
store where they were shopping.
Honest to goodness,
Holy
they
cow.
picked, and in a 2-day period there were mounds and mounds of gifts for these families,
Mhm.
and that they would rally so quickly. But that's what it is. It just means something to people. And,
It's all about it. You can see how it's all these moving parts that come together, and that's what it's really about, and that's kind of the essence of community, isn't it?
yeah.
Mhm.
Where everybody does their own part, and when you add it up, that's how you create change and impact, and you really make a difference, and so everybody does matter, every business, every person, we
Every
can,
family.
yeah, every family, and when we work together, we can achieve everything,
That's
anything.
Exactly.
That's true.
I think
Yeah.
it's fun at Christmas to buy for a family. I remember years ago, it wasn't through ACOS, it was through the Salvation Army, but we our roller derby team decided to, I think it was roller derby, I'm sure it was.
Roller derby?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Okay, long time
But we
ago.
decided
That's
to
another
sponsor.
story.
Don't date yourself.
I'm pretty sure it was roller derby, but yes, I played roller derby. But we sponsored a family, and it was exciting, and we bought all this stuff for it. And then I didn't know we were buying for my girlfriend and her kids.
Oh golly.
Oh,
Small
I
world.
had no idea.
Yeah.
So it was cool.
Well, it's such
Yeah.
a small community. I always say that it's such a small
And-
community, but a big
Big
heart.
Big
Well,
heart
and it
for
touches
sure.
people because
Yeah.
my girlfriend
Mhm.
isn't in that situation anymore,
Mhm.
and she is the most giving person that
Oh,
you could
wow.
ever meet. So it's funny how that.
Yeah, what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
Right?
I noticed that too, just in sort of the charitable sector. The people whom you least expect it, or who often don't even have the capacity themselves, who are already living at a minimum, tend to be the biggest
Givers.
donors
Yeah.
and the most generous. And sometimes I think it's potentially because they have benefited from
Mhm.
these similar programs and services, and so they know, it's maybe more personal to them. But it's always the ones that you don't think of, and I'm always just impressed by
I'm
that.
touched. Very touched.
Very,
Yeah.
it's really special. It's really special.
And they're all here in the wonderful Alberni Valley.
Yes, they are.
Mhm.
Which I'm so glad to be a part. That's yesterday, the 22nd was yesterday, right? That was the official date of my 7 years in Port Alberni.
Oh my.
Well, just don't get the 7-year itch and leave. That's
Oh.
all.
No, I'm never leaving Port Alberni. Somebody already asked me, "Are you gonna die in Port Alberni?" No, I'm gonna live forever in Port Alberni. I was gonna say I'm gonna live happily ever after. in
Very
Port
good.
Can you tell us about the Coldest thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, you bet. So that is our biggest event of the year, and it is.
When is this done? Sometime in
It's-
January?
it's in,
or?
February.
February.
The third weekend in February is
Mhm.
when it falls, and it is. It's about teams of people coming together. So you've had teams, haven't you? Yeah, for the cafe, and they help raise money. So they'll go out and say, "Don, will you sponsor me?" And somebody will say, "I'll give you
Mhm.
10 or 20 or 100 or whatever," and the team goes together, and it's a walk. So Coldest night. I mean, we're fortunate other parts of Canada. have
Before
some pretty
COVID,
cold
though, it
nights.
was an actual walk, right?
Mhm.
But when
Well,
COVID
it's
hit,
still
it
Yes,
became
it
a
was.
virtual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. I mean, it's become a little bit of a hybrid during COVID, but we're
Yeah.
going back to doing the actual event again in February of next year.
Yeah, I participated once because of Caroline. She told me. Oh no, it
No,
was
you
Leona.
did it. Leona with the bank.
Leona told me
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's wonderful because it gets people out walking together. It's all about community. It's good, healthy. It's a
Mhm.
walk. It's not a run. So there's no competition to be there faster or first. And
How many years have you guys done
I
it?
think it's 5 now we've done it.
And
yeah.
so what's your average of what you raise?
Well, it's been growing every year.
So where's the
Yeah.
highest?
This
Yeah.
year was over $40,000.
And
Yeah.
that
Isn't that
stays
incredible?
here, right?
It stays.
Yeah, it's here.
Everything stays in this community. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, no, all the money that we raise stays here in this community. So, again, it's wonderful to see the support of the community and the fun that they have. Yeah.
So where, like, if you say the money stays here, what kind of things does that money benefit?
Well, because it's coldest night of the year, we think about taking people in from the cold. And so there are two
Okay.
areas that it supports primarily. One is our transition house, and the other is our drop-in center. And those are the two areas where, we have need, and people, because we always have mitts and hats and scarves and socks and those kinds of
Mhm.
things in drop-in. But there are also areas that have shortfalls that we have to raise money for, so it works
Mhm.
out really, really well.
So what happens if somebody comes to you in the winter and they need housing, they have nowhere to go for the night, something's happened, and there's no room at the transition house? Is there something for them?
We have to direct people to the services available, so for the shelter.
Okay.
Typically, and they do increase the number of beds that they have. I know that W.A.V.E is about to add 25,
Yes.
and I know that the Friendship Center in partnership with BC Housing is building some sleeping pods.
Yes.
So
Oh,
there's
that's
lots of
good.
stuff. 25, I think maybe I heard they might even be able to put 40. So, we need to refer to whatever services. And I have to remember that our transition house is again for women who are fleeing violence
Mhm.
and or at risk of violence. So not everybody fits our mandate. We
No.
often
I
get
see.
calls from people where homelessness is the presenting issue, and we're not able to take them in. But we do everything that we can to refer them to another service in the city.
So how can somebody help you? So say there's somebody and they don't have money to donate, but is there other things they can do?
Yeah, we receive clothing, household goods. In some cases, furnishings. We'll accept nice.
And they need maybe like a room in their house that you can use for your transition thing.
No, we don't have a registry of houses where people. Is
Oh,
that
I
what you
see.
mean? No, we're not able to do that. As Leslie said, volunteers helping. Right now, we're just starting an art Thursdays, and we need craft supplies. So
Oh, okay.
people can help
Okay.
by donating craft supplies.
So do you have a list? Like I know Ty Watson puts a list on their Facebook page of things they're looking
Yeah.
for. Do you guys do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, we do that.
Okay.
We do.
So you do have a Facebook page that you can tell
We do.
our audience
And
about.
we're in transition right now, so everything is it's an ACAUSE Facebook, and
Oh,
as is
okay.
our website is still ACAUSE, so we're waiting to transition into the new name, but everything will track forward. And
Nice.
yep, we do lists of all the things that we need and put them up. It's seasonal oftentimes,
Yeah.
and as Dawn says, money is always the thing that helped
Always.
us, but we're not unhappy when people are giving. Somebody
Mhm.
donated some the dad had passed away, and they brought some stuff over, and there were 2 or 3 leather jackets, and they came in today and they're all gone.
So as it stands today, what is the capacity of your transition house?
11 beds.
11 beds.
Now that can raise to more. It depends on the composition of a family. So if there are more children, we can house families together. So having families, I think they've had up to 14 or 15.
I see.
But that's bulging at the seams. Then yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine.
Well, because
Well, the incoming development.
Sure, and I mean, we don't. They didn't grow up together, right?
Yeah.
And so they don't know each other, and it's inevitable that you'll see little frictions every time.
Mhm.
People just don't get on, and that's human nature. So, and they're sharing washrooms and they're sharing a kitchen and living dining spaces, and so there are always challenges for sure. But in communal living, we do the best that we can to help
Small
accommodate.
town. You're
Yeah.
gonna run into somebody.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I always
Yeah.
say that this is such a small town. You do not make enemies because you
No.
are gonna run into them.
Mhm.
No.
But we've had new furnishings donated to us by a furniture store.
Yeah, that's nice.
You know, so our transition house, actually there is a virtual tour of our transition house up on our Facebook page
Oh,
right
that's
now,
nice.
which was done by Royal LePage. They donated that service to us.
Very nice.
And, you know, I remember, again, our board member, Chris Fenton, who's with Royal LePage, and he looked, because one of his staff had done it, and he was looking at it, and he said, well, that just looks like anybody's house. And I said, that's right, Chris. And that, you know, people feel for some
It's a
reason
home.
that it's institutional in some way, shape, or form, and it's not. It's very,
Mhm.
it's quite lovely.
It's
You know,
nice
well
when you have
furnished.
that homey feeling. I can't
Yeah.
say that I've ever been in there. I've donated pajamas and stuff
Oh,
there
yeah.
before, but we stayed at Janice's place, and it's like that. It's a home.
Yeah,
That's like your home.
Yeah.
With the
It's
kitchen.
very-
exactly.
And it's,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you asked us what do we need. I mean, one thing comes to mind. We were talking about there was potentially somebody coming into the transition house, and she was large size, a large person, and they needed 4X. So we have a protocol when somebody comes in. Just it's a bed bug protocol is to protect everybody. So they come in and they take a shower, and we give them pajamas and slippers. But for a very large person, we didn't have pajamas and slippers. And so, you know, those are the kinds of things that we would happily accept and have there clean and ready for people to
Yeah.
do, you know.
That's what I did. I had a bunch of brand new pajamas, and
Yeah,
Nice.
we have somebody who makes pajamas. They travel, they do the shows, and lots of, I don't know how far they travel to the shows. And at the end, whatever's left over, they bring in their flannel pajamas. Oh my God, they're beautiful. They're just amazing.
Lovely.
Yeah, so that's youth for children and women as well.
So do you take things like diapers and stuff?
Yep.
Or no? Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just I've got some in the cupboard that don't fit Jackson anymore. He doesn't wear diapers. I don't. And they're
No,
just sitting there, right?
Absolutely, we keep
They're
them and then because when a woman somebody coming into our transition house may have nothing but the clothes on their back, and so when they're there, they want for nothing. We provide them clothes, food, diapers for babies,
Okay.
personal care items, soap, shampoo, all of those things are given to
Yeah.
them.
Okay, I'm
Brushes,
interested
toothbrushes.
a little bit on the process of the transition house. Like, who is qualified and how long are they allowed to stay in the transition house?
Right. So, I mean, we call it meeting a mandate rather than qualifying, and so the mandate would be somebody who's impacted by intimate partner violence or is
Okay.
fleeing violence, or it could be a street worker who is being threatened.
And this is
on the
male
street.
or female?
As
or
they
any
present.
other
No, it is as
organization?
somebody presents, a
Yeah,
sexual.
as a person.
Yeah, so anybody that's presenting as a woman is welcome to come, and we
Mhm.
don't question. So as I say, it's meeting the mandate is really the most important thing. Once they're there, then typically a stay in our transition house is 30 days.
30 days.
Now during the pandemic, we've had longer stays because people just couldn't find housing. So, you know, we're not meant to be a permanent housing. We're meant to be an urgent,
But that's where
response.
the
Yeah.
second stage housing will
And
be
so
wonderful.
second stage, like if we'd had second stage, it would be full. Yeah,
I
it would be
see.
full right now.
But now that there's no second stage, what happens after transition?
I was born and raised in Port Alberni.
So Gail is my mother. We have been working together since I was approximately 2 weeks old.
Go strongly into what was always my passion, which was fashion.
There's no second stage. What happens after transition?
Well, we'll refer them, as I say, to CMHA, who has a
Okay.
housing person. They have a whole list of housing, and they'll work with them. They can get subsidies sometimes for them, and or we'll refer to the shelter. We help them with housing applications with BC Housing. You know, again, we provide information. We don't actually do the work, so we
Oh, yeah.
encourage people. We give them information and empower them to try and act independently to move forward. And in some cases, women will return to a relationship. That is not uncommon. And if that's the case, then we help them build a safety plan. What might make
Okay.
you safe while you're living in the relationship? During COVID, the incident of abuse was worse. Women were, like we have a medical officer who, God love her, is saying stay home and stay safe, and don't go out. And now in an abusive relationship, oftentimes keeping somebody in the home and not letting them out is part of what happens with an abuser. So, all of a sudden they had nowhere to go, and
it was really, and it is something to reflect on with some of the messaging of this idea of stay home. What happens when home isn't safe?
Yeah.
And even for children in schools, when the schools were closed and kids are at home, and this idea for some people, some families, some individuals, home is not safe. It's not where you want to be. And so the pandemic really exacerbated what was already a crisis for many people, right? And so meeting that challenge was really difficult. And when you're running, a shelter and you're juggling all these priorities, you've got a health priority and you've got, safety, like someone's physical safety. It's really, really tricky. But you just have to do the best you can and adapt. But the staff is fantastic, and I think that's definitely a plus, and working in nonprofit and particularly around some of these sensitive issues, you need the right people. So I have every bit of confidence in our staff, and of course Ellen as the executive director, and it just creates that stability and consistency within programming and programming delivery. It makes people
and I think
comfortable.
our community has a lot. Like, I mean, we have the shelter who until this year I'd never been in it. I didn't stay there, but I've been in there now, and the staff who I went to talk to were lovely. Like, they were so nice.
The shelter
society. I'd never been in there. They were great.
And it's a lovely building.
It's a beautiful building.
It is really nice. I was kind of surprised when I walked in there, and I didn't know what I was going into, right? Because I mean, the person I was looking for, it was just very different. And then you've got showers now for people. You've got there's food offered daily. I feel like our community is offering a lot.
Absolutely.
We are.
Oh yes.
When people say that there's nothing that we need to do more, we're, besides the housing being finished, there isn't really much more we can do. We are doing it all.
We're working really hard at it.
Yeah.
A couple of really frightening statistics, but 1 in 3 women has been or will be abused in her lifetime. 1 in 3, so one of us maybe, right? And every 17 minutes a woman is sexually assaulted in Canada. Once every 17 minutes, right? Frightening stats, frightening statistics, and so we just keep on doing the good work and helping people the best way that we can, and Don hasn't mentioned that he's also on our board of directors too now.
I'm the newest. Am I the newest?
I think you are. You're pretty well the newest. Yeah.
For now, we are looking.
Yeah, we're recruiting for the board. Yeah, so for sure, there's a message that we put out. Somebody's interested in volunteering. Well, being a board member.
Yeah. With that said, could you address the audience? I want to volunteer. I want to get involved. Where do I go? How do I do it?
All you do is just call up our main number and then talk to Carol, and she'll get some information. And typically, I'll make a phone call back depending on what somebody's interested in doing. If someone's interested in being on the board, then I'll likely say, come on, let's go for a cup of coffee, or we did that, right? Come, I'll take you on the tour of our building. Like Carolyn, I mean, anytime. I'm not suggesting you have to come to our board how much as we love you, but you've never been to the transition house. I would love to take you there and take you on a tour. Same thing for you, Don.
I'll work on it.
Yeah.
I already was mentioning it to Carolyn a while ago.
Well, I can't.
No.
But
Right
I would
now,
love to.
in time.
No pressure.
I would love to.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in the building on 3rd.
So you've been in
We did a
the
little-
Shelter Society. You've been on the Salvation Army food truck.
Yes.
Okay, we should do a tour
I've
of
been in the
these
safe
different
injection
services.
site.
Well, you can invite me.
Well, you wouldn't have wanted to come in with me for that.
You never
I've been
know.
in a lot. I've been in the trailer park, Fort Bethany, and I've been
Really?
everywhere. Yeah, and my eyes are opened. The things
Eyes and ears open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, my eyes don't open well, but my ears open.
Yeah, I did that too. I went around to some of the properties that are not the best, and people living in conditions that are deplorable. Nobody should have to live that way, and providing food and snacks and water and what do you need. And we had naloxone kits that we were handing out, and we had self harm kits as well. So yeah, but I say we have to learn to step outside of ourselves and who we are, and listen to the story of the other people that we see on the street, that instead of just passing by and sort of turning our head, is to say, hi, how are you?
Well, speaking of that, I understand Sage is involved in this project about hearing voices of the people who have been through this experience.
So we did a survey right at the beginning of COVID. There's some kind of like a before COVID, that other world that we lived in, and we're now we're in the new now, I think, or something like that, right?
COVID
But
aftermath thing.
we had one person, Rita Watts is her name, and she did a survey, and it was called Humans First, and she went to different places down by where the trailers are and to Harborview Apartments and interviewed people and asked them questions about, how is your life? What do you need? Do you feel well treated in healthcare? And, it addressed stigma and a whole bunch of things like that. So we're now into phase 2, and the first part was just Humans First, and the second one is now Humans First Hear Their Stories.
Yes.
And so what she's been doing is she's taken a phone, I think a phone and a tripod, a cell phone, and interviewed, she and her sister interviewed 60 people.
Yes.
So where do you see these?
Well, I'll tell you right now. It's
We're in the
gonna
process of putting together a documentary.
Yeah. So, and we have a coordinator that's working to help us do that along with the studio here.
Yeah.
And we will end up after 60 interviews with about 10 minutes, which is a really tough thing to do. And, the process of going through to listen to the stories is a very difficult one. So this project in particular is funded through the First Nations Health Authority. And Sage Haven is involved in that. We're helping to sort of flow the money through, but it very much is being worked on by people with lived experience. And it will be, I think, a very powerful,
impactful,
very impactful.
When they presented the project to me and asked me if I would get involved, I said, and I heard the story and I heard the concept, I said, we're in. We're all in. And we are working on it as of now, and I can't wait for the final result.
It's going to be something for sure. Yeah, really. Yeah, we're thankful for your support.
Well, thank you for coming on the show, Leslie and Ellen. I think that's all the time we have, so we gotta wrap it up. But in a final message, I want you to share in connection with Sage and you personally coming to Port Alberni. How has this been all part of your wonderful Alberni Valley experience?
Well, I call it wild Alberni Valley. So it's been wild. It's been a ride. 6 years ago, if I had been talking about benzodiazepine and Narcan and fentanyl and people overdosing and learning how to save somebody's life and all these things. I worked with a women's organization before, but never as close as I do now with people on the streets, and it has been an eye-opener. It has educated me way beyond I thought I would ever know, and so I'm thankful to be there. So it's been a wild ride. Okay. Wonderful at that.
A wonderful wild
wonderful
Valley
wild
experience. And I understand Leslie is involved with some kind of wildlife as well.
Yeah, I agree with Ellen. It is a bit of a wild ride. I mean, I think just the charitable sector generally, sometimes you learn to make something from nothing, and sometimes you are dealing with hard policies or, government issues or things beyond your control that directly impact your work. You've got funding challenges, you can have staffing issues and attracting and retaining, the right staff, especially in a small community where you need a very special skill set. It's not always, hard to do. And then just layers and layers and layers of different situations, and again, it just creates all these challenges. But there's something about the charitable sector. I can't get enough of it because that's where the heart is. That's the glue. You know, it is the glue of a good society because, you know, we've got all these different issues, millions and millions of different issues, and arguably they're all a priority, aren't they? Whether it's people, vulnerable populations, whether it's the environment, climate change, climate crisis, whether it's animals, animal protection. There's so many different issues, and they're all very important. And our government isn't going to deal with it. They're just not.
They're busy with other things.
they're just not equipped. And
well, at least they throw money at it for a while, for a bit.
They try, but they're not always going to get it right, and they need help. You know, and so this is where like charities kind of fill in these gaps, and they help provide relief. And they can advocate, and they can mobilize, and they can inspire, and all those things. And so
Educate.
and that's what Sage Haven does. And you know, that's one of the reasons that I'm really passionate about it. I've really enjoyed my time volunteering, and I encourage, you know, anyone watching the program to learn a little bit more, to visit the website. It's acause.ca right now.
Yeah, call me.
Get in touch with.
We'll put the number on the screen.
Absolutely, and learn a little bit more. And you know, sometimes volunteering is not for everybody, but there's lots of ways that people can get involved and participate, or even just, you know, spread the word, talk about their friends and you know, with their family, letting them know that these services are available in town. Sometimes just word of mouth is really helpful, particularly for people that are maybe in a tough situation, that they're just aware that there are programs and services that are there for them, and we rely on that. You know, we need people to advocate for us, you know, in the community. Again, letting people know that, you know, the transition house is available, that there's phone numbers and there's support there for people who need
I
it.
just love the concept of charity, because that's what sort of like sets us apart as like from the rest of the species that are on the planet. Like we are the ones who have a heart, we have a soul, we have self-awareness, and we have, you know, this interdependence with each other, from each other.
I find the charity thing, and this is a post-COVID discussion, but just an observation. I think COVID really brought to light a lot of things that perhaps people kind of put over there, and I really found a lot of people struggling to find happiness, and you hear that sometimes from people. I'm not happy, or, you know, I hate my life, or they're unsatisfied in their relationships or their job maybe, or they're just unfulfilled. And I would challenge to that charity is a real opportunity for that, because I think sometimes happiness takes work, and you have to opt. You have to opt into it. You have to actively
find the positive.
you have to
Exactly.
actively choose it. And sometimes I think to find happiness, you need to create meaning, and to create meaning, you need to get outside of yourself. And so sometimes
find a purpose.
and sometimes when you give back, that's when it comes back to you.
Oh, definitely.
Doesn't it? And it all kind of goes round and round. But I really believe in that. And so anyone struggling out there where they just haven't really found themselves, don't focus on that. Give back. And then it'll all come this way. So.
And it's a great way to make friends if you're new to town.
It's a brilliant way to
Works for you.
Yeah, it is a great way. You know, you learn about your community, and you can help serve, and you make great friends along the way.
And I'm a firm believer of what you sow, you reap, and the more good you sow, the more good you reap.
Wow.
Well, thank you again, Ellen and Leslie, for being part of our wonderful Alberni Valley experience. We shall catch you next time on The W.A.V.E.